Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Goverlan Administration and Diagnostics webcast. Today, we're going to be going over the administration and diagnostic features of Goverlan. These features really circle around being able to manage Active Directory as well as the computers on your network from behind the scenes. The behind the scenes perspective basically means being able to change most of the common components of a Windows system from the Goverlan console without having to actually remote control a user or interrupt anything that the user is doing. So in this webcast, we'll be going over things like remotely renaming a computer or adding printers or managing installed software and so on from behind the scenes without actually interrupting the user or logging into a machine to do so. So again, this webcast is right now it's in presentation mode. So right now I'm going to be presenting for the next 30 to 45 minutes. I'll be presenting all the features from the Administration and Diagnostics section of Goverlan. This webcast is designed for new users to Goverlan, or if you are a current user of Goverlan and you wanted to learn more about some of the features. As usual, like we did in some of our other webcasts, we have a chat feature here that I'd like you to post your questions to. And the last 15 minutes of the segment, we'll be able to, I'll be reading the questions out loud and answering them. This webcast is also recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel by the end of the day so that anyone can review it later on. So with that said, if anyone is interested in upgrading to Goverlan version 8 or purchasing Goverlan version 8, feel free to reach out to our sales team at sales@goverlan.com. Or you can also call us at 888-330-4188. All this information you can also find on our website. So if you go to goverlan.com, we have our user guides, our YouTube channel, and you can get yourself a copy of Goverlan to try for 30 days with all of the features that I'm about to show you today. So that being said, I'm going to begin this presentation with some information about the general workings of Goverlan. So let's begin. So the first thing we're going to do is just take a look at where Goverlan stands, the administration and diagnostic part stands as far as the whole suite is concerned. So in yesterday's presentation, we went over Goverlan remote control. And these are the things that we did go over yesterday, which is now available in our YouTube channel in case anyone missed it. You can go back and take a look at some of those features. Today we're going to be going over the administration and diagnostic section. So that's this part right here. In the administration and diagnostic section, we'll be going over the live support of our users. That's the background support that I was just telling you about, as well as Active Directory administration. So the ability to control user accounts as well as machine accounts and groups and so on within Active Directory. And I'll also be showing you the parts where Shore data fits in. And for anyone unfamiliar with Shore data, it's a database portion to Goverlan that allows us to pull some information even while machines are offline. If you want more information about Shore data, again, go back to our Goverlan YouTube channel and view the Shore data series there so you can get some understanding on what Shore data is about. So the next thing we'll be going over now, let's get rid of the annotations. A little bit about Shore data. I'm going to give you a quick, brief summary on it. Shore data is a database portion of Goverlan. This database portion can be a SQLite or Microsoft SQL Server-based database, which will store information on machines even if they're offline. So this information is useful to you if you're trying to manage workstations that may not be available at the time, but you can still retrieve useful information. So I'll be showing you the different areas in the administration and diagnostics section where you can actually still retrieve data from machines even though they're offline. The next thing we're going to go over now is a little bit about how Goverlan actually works. So we'll start off really quick with the licensing. Now, our licensing model is a perpetual license. Is a perpetual license. So it's a one-time cost for the version that you own. There are no subscription fees unless you wish to go for the optional maintenance. Goverlan is priced per operator and not per node. So what that means is the license is based on how many technicians that will be using Goverlan. So the number of technicians that will be using Goverlan is what you get licensed for. That allows you as the Goverlan user to administer as many machines as you wish. As many machines as your network has, as many as it will grow to or shrink to, you'll never have to really worry about licensing costs. As far as the deployment of the Goverlan agent, the agent is very fast to deploy, can be done ad hoc, meaning when you go to interact with the machine for the first time, Goverlan will ask you if you want to install the agent. The only prerequisite there is that you have to provide an account that has the local administrative privileges to install software on the target machine. Once that part is done, the agent will be registered on the target machine. It'll start running, and you can start managing that machine. You also have the option to push the agent out via the console on demand, or the Goverlan installation also comes with an exe for the Goverlan agent if you wanted to add it to your image or run it later on. As far as the security goes, Goverlan now supports the AES 256-bit encryption, as well as for the older operating systems, the RSA RC4 protocol. So all the traffic that you're going to see with Goverlan is fully encrypted. Nothing plain text goes over the wire. Any stored passwords and so are fully encrypted. Now, as far as the central configuration, Goverlan, the administration and diagnostic portion doesn't necessarily have a central configuration part to it, mainly because you as the tech will be performing actions directly on the machines. The only part to know that is the agent does go over a single TCP port. So there's no other ports to really worry about, but all the communication is between the technician and the Goverlan agent. Now, as far as auditing goes, this section here really has to do with the remote control stuff that we spoke about yesterday, but it is worth to note that everything that you do in Goverlan is reflected upon the Active Directory credentials that you are logged into your machine with. So whatever auditing that you have in place as far as the remote machines are concerned through Active Directory or through any other auditing tools will also apply to Goverlan. So there's no auditing built in necessarily to Goverlan for the administration and diagnostic piece. However, this is basically the same as you giving someone access to the computer management MMC snapping. So whatever auditing is in place based on your network, based on Active Directory or third-party auditing that you have on your machines, Goverlan will show that information. Okay, so that being said, let's jump into Goverlan. Okay, so the administration and diagnostic piece you access through the management console. So I'm going to launch the management console here. And in our management console, what we've done is we've added a welcome screen. So let me give a little demonstration of the welcome screen here. What this welcome screen allows you to do is get to some resources that you may need as far as Goverlan is concerned, such as talking to the forums, or using the user voice community that we've also set up, or accessing the user guides. You can also get to some basic configuration options here, such as software packages, batch and script, and a shortcut to the settings area. So this is the welcome screen. This is what you're greeted with when you first install Goverlan, just giving you a wealth of information right here at the start. So today we're going over the administration and diagnostics module. So that's where we're going to start. So the first thing you see here in the administration and diagnostic module is Goverlan will detect your Active Directory infrastructure. So what that means is Goverlan simply reads the nearest domain controller, pulls the Active Directory information. No setup is required at this point because by default, all domain users have read access to Active Directory. So at this point here, your Goverlan technicians, which probably have more than read access to Active Directory, will be able to browse AD, as well as do some searching in AD. So here we can search for Active Directory user accounts, computer accounts, group accounts. We can search in many different domains if you wish. And here our center focus does remain Active Directory. It's worth noting, though, that Active Directory is not required to use Goverlan. We also have our favorite section, which can be used to manage any machines on your network, whether they are part of Active Directory or not. You can add machines here by IP. You can add them by subnet range. You can add them by just host names if you wish to manage them. And Goverlan can help you manage them remotely straight from this favorites view. So you don't actually need Active Directory to do the management of the machines. So here, what we'll be doing, what we'll start with some Active Directory management. So as I said before, right away, our center focus is the Active Directory containers, all of your OUs listed here. And you can drill into any one of these and see all the OUs from your environment. You can right-click on any OU, and you can configure filters within them. So if you only want to see machines that have this operating system and so on, you can filter in for the data that's in there. You can create new OUs, users or groups, within this. Again, this is all based on your Active Directory permissions. So if you have permissions to do these things, you'll be able to. If you don't, you'll be presented with an access denied message, as well as view the properties of your Active Directory attributes. Now, at the bottom here of the Administration and Diagnostics section, we also have a tab interface. Now, what these three tabs are, they're basically filters for three Active Directory object types, which are groups, computers, and users. So in this OU, where it says workstations, we only have computer accounts. So if I go in here, I'll see computer accounts based on this tab that I see here. If I went to do the same thing, let's say with the users tab, it'll tell me no users found in this container, because these are basically filters. So in this case here, this OU contains several computer accounts. These computer accounts can be right-clicked, and we can get access to the tool set. All of this stuff I'll be going over shortly. But we get access to the tool set right here, right from the right-click options, as well as some basic information like what OU we're actually in. So let's say I did a search, and I did a search for, let's say, a user account. Goverlan will find the object that I'm looking for and give me the option to set focus. And what that does is it changes the main view to where that user or computer or group account is. You can also do partial searches. So if I just start with PJ Lab, let's say, anything that begins with PJ Lab will show up here. And we also have a pretty complicated, or not complicated, easy to use, but very rich search feature. So we can use wildcards in here, as well as searching by attribute name. So we can do an attribute search for any of these attributes that are actually in the account. So if you have something like employee ID or department, so you can say department equals, the caps are not required here, IT. So what Goverlan is going to do now is it's looked for every account that the department is equal to IT as far as the attributes are concerned for these AD objects. Let me just open this up a little bit so you can see what this looks like. So this is some of the search features that we give you for Active Directory that allow you to really whiz around Active Directory. I mean, you don't have to use the one that comes with Active Directory users and computers, which personally I hate that search box. because it doesn't actually take you to the object as it exists in Active Directory. It just shows you results. So here, if I did a search, hit set focus again, what we're going to see is Goverlan actually takes us to the object. So we get some more information based on this, such as the OU here. So if that day I know that there was a GPO change to this OU and that person is calling about something, this bit of information is actually pretty important. So now that we've actually found our machines, we can begin to manage them as well. So if I right-click and do Account Information, Goverlan is going to take me to the Active Directory account information for this machine. And this information includes if the account is disabled or not. Of course, this is a computer account, so you really wouldn't expect too much to be going on here, but also the group memberships. Let's take a look at what user accounts look like now for Active Directory management. So I'll search for a user account. I'll set the focus. And here I am back to my user account. If I go to account information here, Goverlan is going to present me with the account information for this user. And we're basically taking a look at what the Active Directory users and computers screen looks like, but with more of the information up front and center. Some of the things that we're constantly doing with the Active Directory users and computers are resetting passwords. So all the password options are right here up front, so you don't have to actually go to the account tab to do these kind of things, because these are things that you work on very quickly. We may be worried about home drive paths or local paths, things that we need to set right away. Another thing that we constantly do with user accounts is we manage the groups. So I can come here and I can add or remove groups to this user. I can also export this list and import it as well. So if you have user accounts that you're creating and you need to make sure that each new account has a set of groups, you can import ones that you've exported from, let's say, a template account here. So if I do import, it'll just bring me to the to an open screen where I can import the group memberships. And Goverlan will just import all those group memberships and make sure that that user is a member of all of those groups. One of my favorite things as far as this is concerned also is oftentimes we find ourselves trying to figure out where a user is getting permissions from. What group is allowing a user to do something, especially when that user might be buried deep in a few groups. So we have the Show Effective Memberships tab. So if I check that box, what Goverlan does is it recurses the root member groups. So here, this user is a direct member of these groups. But what other groups are these groups a member of? It's a little bit confusing, but I'm sure you guys get the point. So here, the domain admins group is a member of these. We have another group here, which is a member of another group, and so on. So I can recurse the groups to see where a user might be getting specific permissions from. And this really helps out when you're trying to find out why this user has permissions or why this user doesn't have permissions to a specific resource. The other tab that I like to bring everyone to is the Statistics tab. This tab here is really good at hunting down, helping you hunt down where a user might be locked out. In the Statistics tab, we're getting logon statistics. So how many times they've actually successfully logged on, the last time they logged on, how many times their password was wrong. We can query domain controllers to see which domain controllers are servicing the logon. So if you had a few domain controllers, they'd all be listed here, and then you can actually see which domain controller is servicing that user's logon or providing the bad logon attempts. There was a case where I had a user who used to travel between many different sites. And one day they left one site, they left their machine there locked. They forgot to reset their password later on, and that account constantly got locked from that other site. We actually saw that within Goverlan where the bad logon attempts were. And then I'll show you another neat part of Goverlan later on that will actually hunt down where the user's logged in. Also, the domain policy here as far as the password age. so you can always tell if the users are, how many days it's been since the user changed their password last. And you can also view the domain policy here. So in case you forget what your domain policy is, you can actually view it here. And now the Logon History tab. This one's pretty important. Here at the Logon History tab, we see where this user has been logging on. This is good if you have a distributed network where you have users who move around a lot, and you need to figure out where they have been logging in, or if you need to provide an audit report to your compliance to see where this user has been logging in. So we have this information here, and it's also exportable by this little report button. This button here you're going to see in quite a few screens, and it allows us to export the information that we want into a quick text file. This is just so you can copy and paste it and email it somewhere or attach it to a file and so on. I'll show you later on how to get some actual HTML-based reports or Excel reports for this information. So that's how we manage our user accounts through Goverlan. The last part is actually managing some groups through Goverlan. So here we'll do a group I have called Large Group. This just happens to contain a lot of different users in it. So now when we're looking at groups, Goverlan is telling us if it's a security universal or a global group. We can also see distribution groups in this view. If I go into any one group, I can change the type, and I can also view the members. This one might take a little while to load because it's got probably about 1,500 user accounts in it. So here we've got a ton of different accounts. Let me jump to a smaller one because I'd like to show you the effective members. So this here is kind of the opposite of what we shown before as far as the effective membership. So before we were recursing the groups to see what other groups a user has inherited. Here what we're doing is we are doing it the other way. So we're saying what users are a member of this group through inheritance. This one is not a good example because this one doesn't have anybody higher up. But if this group had other groups in it, you would see through inheritance which users are part of this group as well. And again, it's very important because if you're trying to troubleshoot what users have access to specific resources that you can't see because of the root group membership, you can come and turn on effective membership and see that way. And again, of course, we give you our little report button here in the corner. So these are some of the aspects as far as Active Directory management is concerned. It's also worth noting that in Goverlan, you can manage many different Active Directory forests or domains. In this one case, you can see here we're working with a parent and child type, but you can also come to the forest selector here and add different forests or different other domains that are within the forest that are not necessarily parent and child. All you need to know in this case is the IP address of the global catalog of the other domain, and you will have to add credentials from the other domain. We can go into some credential management really quick as well. If I come here to Settings and Network Settings, Alternate Credentials. So what the Credential Manager allows us to do is it allows us to add credentials based on different rules. For instance, we can add credentials based on a specific computer or server IP or host name. So Goverlan will always provide credentials, whatever we specify here, for that specific machine. We can do it for an IP range or a domain. So again, if you're managing multiple domains, you would come in here and enter the other domain's information. Show you what that looks like. When you're doing domain credentials, you can specify if these credentials are for Active Directory management only, or if they're also for the management of the machines themselves, of the computers themselves. We can add an account here. And now Goverlan will save these credentials. Actually, that's a duplicate of what I just put in there. We'll save these credentials here. So these credentials will be used now whenever we're talking to any machine on the domain. And again, you can cut this up as you wish. You can add any credentials for an IP subnet. Maybe that subnet of machines is not on the domain. It won't matter to Goverlan as long as the credentials are there to use, or machines specifically. So that kind of covers the broad overview of our Active Directory-based management. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move into the actual management of the workstations themselves. So the behind-the-scenes kind of things that we were talking about earlier. So I'm going to jump back to our OU where we have our machines, and we're going to go over some of the features of the administration and diagnostics portion. So the very first thing I'd like to bring everyone's attention to is the system information screen. This is where you usually would start if you have an issue with the machine. Actually, let me take a step back. Before we do that, I want to demonstrate detecting logged-in workstations. So actually, I'm going to go back to our user account, because this is how most of your support requests are going to start. When someone calls your help desk or your desktop support group, the first thing you know is who you're talking to on the phone. So you don't necessarily always know what machine that they're logged into. Now, in larger organizations or even the smaller ones, you may have to ask the user what machine they're logged into. You may have to tell the user to look for a sticker, or tell the user to look for something in their on their software to actually tell you what the user account is. I've seen giant spreadsheets that tell you this information. I've seen how other products do it, like SCCM and so on. By far, Goverlan is the fastest and simplest way to get you connected to your user machines. If I double-click Logged In Workstation here, Goverlan will detect everywhere this user is logged into. For demonstration purposes, I've logged this user into everywhere, so he's got 5 machines going. For the most part, you'll probably only see 1 or 2 machines in this view, depending on if you have, let's say, RDP or Citrix sessions as well. So Goverlan will detect the RDP sessions and the Citrix sessions and any physical console session that the user has going. So from here, I can now drill into managing the machine directly. So now we fast forward to where we kind of left off, the system information screen. So now in the system information screen, when I double-click, Goverlan is retrieving in real time the information from that workstation. So I'm getting information such as IP address, the OS, last wake-up time, tons of things in here, as well as let's take a look at the hardware information, or we actually also have the partial product keys. If you're doing Microsoft True-Up time and you need to run some reports, you can actually see here who's activated with what keys. For the hardware information, this is one of my favorite screens. So we're reporting basic hardware info right here up front. But when we go to detailed information, we actually give you a map of a system board. And in the system board, we're taking a look at all the different hardware components that make up the machine. So if I click CPU information, Goverlan is going to report back the CPU and some low-level details based on that CPU itself. We can also jump into the memory banks. It's going to tell me exactly what's physically installed in each memory bank, as well as anything connected into some of the ports at the back. We've got drive information. We're actually reporting the smart status of the machine, so you can actually the hard drive will tell you if it's on its way out or not. And video information. This video information actually can pull back the monitor serial number if the monitor driver is actually installed, or depending on certain monitor manufacturers. I know this is a big one. This kind of goes way back. A lot of products try to aim to get this monitor serial number, and it's actually quite helpful when you're doing monitor upgrades. So we're reporting on tons of information right here through the hardware detailed hardware screen. We have our report button, of course. So if I want to pipe all that out, there it is. And this is the simple text report. And, of course, I can show you how to do some of the more advanced reporting later on. network settings. This is another pretty good one here. If I click Modify Network Settings, I get a visualization of what the machine's network settings are like. And at this point, I can rename a machine or join or disjoin a machine from the network. These two features here are very popular. They get used all the time. If I click Rename here, I can rename it. Goverlan's going to ask me for the credentials necessary to do it, or as well as a join and unjoin. So this kind of makes your remote administration really, really worth it at that point, especially when you have machines that are throwing security errors and you know you have to rejoin it to the domain. Here's a fast way to do it. We're also giving you the login and log out events for that machine, as well as any remote control sessions that have happened. Again, I just want to remind everybody, if you have any questions, make sure you put it in the chat box, because we're going to read off those questions at the end of the session. So let's go into some actual configuring. Let's go into some actual changing of objects and manipulating this machine from behind the scenes. The first thing we're going to do is come into the local users and groups. Here, I know one of the most popular things that we get is, can you change the local SAM of a machine remotely? And the answer is yes. So here I can come in and add local users if I wanted to, or add or remove members from the local administrators group. We can do this also with a scripting system, not a scripting system, but an automated system that can remove local admins and add local admins later on based on your criteria. We'll do that in something called custom actions, and I'll explain that in a little while. Another very popular section is the software products. Adding and removing software products is probably one of the things that you're going to do the most from behind the scenes. And when you have this set up, it's really quite impressive. So in this case here, we're going to do an example of some programs that we want to add to this system, or we might want to remove. So here I have Java. This is an older version of Java. I know I don't want this here because I want to update it. So we're going to do a case basis here. I'm going to remove Java from this machine. So I'll let Goverlan take it out for me. And then we're going to add an updated version of Java. And this updated version of Java, you know, as you know, there was these days Java updates probably every week. So you're going to probably doing this very, very often. So now with Goverlan, we can say add new program. And here we get a list of installation packages. These are ones that I've created prior, but today I'm going to do a new one just so I can present to everyone how this actually works. So I'm going to add a new package and then use the green plus sign here to say I want to add an EXE package. Now, Goverlan supports both MSI and ESE packages for pushing. MSI packages are by far the easiest to deal with because Goverlan will automatically add the /qn to it, so it'll be quiet and no restart, and it will push the MSI in the background, get the software installed very quickly, and so on. But if you have an EXE, you can also select that, and you can add the silent install arguments. So in this case, we're going to do Java 7 update. I believe we have 56, and then we're going to do the package path. So this path doesn't have to be, but should exist on a share somewhere in your network. Update 67, that's the one we have. So I'm going to tell it to do update 67. And here's the path to our EXE that the remote machine is going to want to run. So what it's going to do is actually transfer the package to the machine locally via the share. So it'll copy it over, then run it. That helps you with any network issues that you might, if you have any bandwidth issues that you don't want tons of machines doing this at the same time. Sometimes you may want to do it locally, then run it. And in this case, we have to supply the silent installation argument string. This is important because each manufacturer of software can sometimes do it differently. Java happens to be quite known, so I'm just going to hit apply here really quick because we have it here. I'm going to copy that, jump over here, and paste that. Now, you can get these silent install strings from EXEs if you go to something like IT Ninja and just do a search for the application that you're trying to install. You'll see that's a forum where everyone inputs where their silent install techniques, and you can most certainly add those here to Goverlan. So now I'm going to click OK, and I have my software package. Now I can use it to install Java. So I'm going to install Java 7 Update 67 here. So Goverlan is going to transfer the package locally. This is just doing a simple SMB package transfer to the machine, and it's going to run the installer on the machine. Now, in this case here, again, it's happening behind the scenes. The user doesn't see anything in these cases. As well as far as permissions go, again, Goverlan uses your permissions that you're logged into your machine as, or any alternate credentials that you may have specified. So once the package is transferred, Goverlan runs the EXE in the background and will do the silent install based on the silent install parameters. So in this case here, we're getting a success message. So there is our Java 7 Update 67. So again, we can add and remove software as we see fit, as well as report on the information and take a look at things like which ones are system updates, which ones aren't. We can filter those out if we don't want to see them, or system components. So that's a quick demonstration of a software install. We can also manage the automatic update client on the target machines. And what this does is it gives us a remote way to manipulate the Windows Update client on the target machine. So here I can tell that machine to tell me its update history. This one had a lot of failed ones. And we can also tell it to query known updates, meaning which ones are available for installation, or check for new ones. So when we click check for new updates, what it's going to do is reach out either to the WSUS server that you have configured or Windows Update to figure out which updates it needs. In this case, I'm going to let this go here because this can take a while based on how many updates and so on that you need. As far as printers go, this is another popular area. Printer control from behind the scenes. I remember working on a desk and how many times I had to worry about actually maybe about 10 times a week someone calls and says, well, I had this printer yesterday, I don't have it today. Well, you can go and try to troubleshoot why the printers are missing, but if a user needs it at the moment, you have to add it. So here we can come behind the scenes, jump into adding a printer. We can either add local printers or remote printers. If I do remote, for instance, I believe I have a printer here. Let's see. SRV 81/ Canon. I think that's the printer. You can make it available for all users or not. Nope, that's not it. What is it? Actually, it's nope. Let me just get the printer name real quick. Kind of forgot it. So again, you can do all this stuff from the background. I mean, that's really the key here. Being able to remotely do all these things without having to interrupt your users. Okay, there it is. And at the end of the day, you kind of look like magicians doing it. So I can come here, add the printer while I have the user on the phone, tell them, now this is your printer. I've set it to your default. Go ahead and try it out. They do their printing. They're happy, and they can go on their way. So again, some of these things are very important to remember as far as remote management, is that the user does not see anything. And that's it, at the end of the day what we want to do. We want to keep the users being productive. We want to keep them doing the things that they have to do without having to worry about jumping through the hurdles of IT infrastructure things. So here, this is a network printer. The printer is mapped and it's set to the default. I can come here and set it as a default. I can right-click and see what's printing on any of these. I can view the print server properties of the target machine. In this case here, just see what drivers are already installed, remove them, and so on, just as if you were in front of the machine. So the next part is drive information. This is another popular one. I got a call yesterday. I'm missing a map drive, or I'm new to this department. I need this drive mapped. How do you go about doing that? Okay, no problem. I'll map your drive for you. I'll map it to your T there. And here's just a share that we have. I can connect as a different user, or if I leave it blank, it connects as the remote user, and we'll set it to reconnect to Logon. So there goes our printer mapping. Here, the user, doesn't see anything except for the drive pop-up. So once the drive pops up, they can start to use it based on their permissions. We can disconnect from here as well. It's worth noting that Goverlan, especially when it comes to drive mappings, this is kind of important. Goverlan is session aware. So if this machine that we're managing just happened to be a terminal server or some sort of XenApp server, this user area here will show every account that's logged into the machine. You can jump between any user account and manage the sessions specifically. So that's kind of important to note. So if I had another user logged into this machine and another one, I can click on their name and then add or remove drive mappings for them. And the same thing goes for printers, which is, again, kind of one of those big things that if anyone's ever managed some XenApp users, you'd know that adding and removing printers and moving drive maps around, you kind of have to do that within the session as the user's logged in. So you can definitely do that here with Goverlan. We'll jump down to really quickly to service management here. Again, it's not rocket science. We're not doing anything fundamentally different than let's say you do it from the Windows machine itself, except we're doing it remotely. So here I can stop and start any service that I want. I can view the properties of any service. I can, change if it's the startup type, change the logon as, and so on. So all this stuff can be done from the background, no problem. The same thing when it comes to drivers. What some people don't know is that drivers actually operate much like services in the background. So you can stop and start hardware drivers right here from Goverlan. And again, here's our little report button. As a reminder, we can take this. I want to see all the services that are running on this machine. I can check that and get our little text output. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump down to, I'm going to skip Task Manager Remote Console because these sort of deserve videos on their own, but if anyone's seen any of the other videos, they'd understand this is a very powerful task manager and a very powerful remote console. So we're doing all of this focused on this machine with this user logged in. And that's how we kind of tie these tools together to make it very easy for you. Again, with the send, pop-up, and chat, these are two features that we've covered in our remote control. They're pretty easy to understand. Send pop-up is a one-way notification, and chat gives the ability to chat with the target users. Here in the control section, we can start a remote control session with this machine. We also can jump into the power options. The power options are it's a very cool screen that allows you to manage the power of that machine and kind of see in a snapshot what's going on. The machine is on, it's pingable, the agents are ready, this is the user who's logged in. Do you want to lock the screen or manage any of the power right here? If this machine was a vPro machine, you'd see that the AMT status would be ready, and you would have all the vPro options, including reboot to BIOS or remount to ISO image. So I'm also going to go over custom actions. This is a very important part of administration and diagnostic. Custom actions are a way to script actions without actually having to write any script code. For instance, if you wanted to run an action on this machine that will shut it down, reboot it, or install a piece of software, then reboot, or log off the console user, then change a registry setting, and then change something else, you can do that all here through custom actions. So I'm going to right-click custom actions and do add a new one. In this case, this could be a series of steps that you need to take to, let's say, remove a piece of spyware or get rid of a virus. So we'll do something like remove myvirus.exe, right? So there's those instances where you may have your antivirus software and it's good at cleaning up certain viruses, but you just happen to know that the steps for removing this virus is to kill a process, remove a registry key, and delete a file. In that case here, you can come to the Add New Circle and use our action module screen to put those actions together. So, for instance, I would do execute computer action, and the first thing I want to do is stop a process. So I'll check out the processes menu here and tell Goverlan to terminate a process. I'll tell it it's myvirus.exe. And if you want to kill any of the children, that kind of sounds mean. We're actually going to reword that. But what we're doing here is we're telling you to kill any child processes that have been opened by this exe as well. So I will do that first. Then I want to change a registry key. So we'll do some registry actions. So we'll jump down to registry action, and we'll delete a registry key that is, let's say, HKey _ current user software myvirus. And if it's not empty, do you want to kill it? In this case, you don't want it to fail if it's not empty. You want it to remove everything. So I'm going to hit OK there. And then my last action would be something like is a file action. So I might want to delete a file. And this file is C:/program files / myvirus.exe. Here we would specify like a run as type, like if we wanted to run it as a different user or run it as a remote user and so on. In this case, where'd it go? Oh, I must have clicked out of it. So we'll go back to File, Delete, and so, okay. So here we can tell it to delete whatever we want and specify all the information that we need. In this case, we probably want it to run as me, which is number 2. So here we have 3 distinct actions that will execute in this order, and we can actually change the order over here. So that's our action module. That's how you piece together this information. You can also use an action module to report on specific pieces of information, such as, let's say I wanted an asset report, so I can go to identity information, or I want an OS report. I might want to choose a few different options, and Goverlan will add those options there, and then generate a report that we can actually use to view the asset information. In this case here, what we'll do is we'll do our report. You get the idea as far as the execution is concerned. What we can also add to the execution of these things are conditions. So we can say if the computer is, if the account was after this time, if the OS is this OS, and so on. So everything that we can basically report and execute, we can also make a condition on. So in this case, we'll change this to report options. and we'll hit OK. So now I have my report options, and I have my report options. And now I have my custom action. So again, remember, this can be actions that execute, sort of like a batch, or actions that report, like any other reporting software. So this custom action is not only assigned to this machine now. This custom action will appear for every machine that you can see in Goverlan. So if I jump down, let's say, to here, and I do custom action, it'll be visible here as well. Doesn't mean that when I execute it, it does it for all the machines. It'll only do it for the machine that we're focused on. So if I double-click report options here and hit OK, Goverlan is going to run that report and then bring it back to me. So in this case, we've got our service pack, OS information, the install date, and so on. Whatever it is that we checked off there will appear here in our report. And these reports can be this HTML style. We can also do it in Excel. I think that's because I don't have Excel installed there. Sorry about that. But again, these things can be done through Excel or other HTML reporting options. So the custom actions are a very, very powerful piece because you can really put together different actions, different reports, and run them on demand as a single double-clickable item. These custom actions can also be shared with other Goverlan users. So if I do a quick search, let's get us back to where we were. I'll focus on a machine. Custom actions. So here I can right-click and do team, and what this will let me do is either enforce it on everybody else if I have the rights to do so, or make it available for anyone else to download if they wanted to. And this is any other Goverlan user within our environment. Now the last part here is the batch and script section. So just as if the custom actions are actually batch and script, but in a GUI form, batch and script here allows you to create batch and script packages. So for instance, if you have a batch file or a VBScript that you are constantly running and you run it all the time, you can actually add it here and create a batch and script package the same way we did the software package. That way you can run it whenever you want, simply by double-clicking the new batch file that you create. You can tell it to run as specific accounts here, and you can tell it to not give the output to the user, but return the output to you in a text file. So I'll do a quick demonstration of that. We'll do Notepad, and we'll do a quick batch file, right? So here we'll do echo, let's do a hello world. We'll do file, save as. We'll save this to our desktop as hello.bat. I might have to change that after the fact. And let's just make sure our batch file is there. Okay, there we go. So we have a simple batch file that works like any other batch file. You can open it in the command prompt and let it run, and it'll do whatever you want it to do. Here, if I add it to batch and script, I'll add, and we'll say hello script. We'll choose it from our desktop. Now, what Goverlan is doing here is that it's going to transfer it and then run it. That's why I'm able to select it as it is locally on my machine. If I use the run path from remote machines option, I would have had to put a UNC share. This will transfer it and then delete it afterwards if you wanted it to. And then I can change the run as if I want. And then I want to record the output to somewhere on my desktop as hello out.txt. So again, what we're doing is we're running a batch file remotely, but telling Goverlan to return us the results. So if I hit OK, I now have a script that I can run. Now, it's important to note VBScripts are handled by default. So you don't have to add cscript.exe or anything like that. Goverlan automatically understands VBScripts. So if I run this here, it's going to run it and return to me this text file. This is the console output, which is not shown to the user. Return to me here in a text file. If I wanted to run this on a few machines, I can do a control select, right-click, and I have my custom actions as well as my batch and script. So if I do this here on a few machines, Goverlan will run the script on each machine and then, of course, tell me which one the console output belongs to. So from top to bottom, that is just about everything that we have for Administration and Diagnostic. We ran a little bit past our 45-minute mark, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and answer any questions now that I see here in the chat section. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to add it here to the chat session so we can go ahead and answer them so everyone can hear it. Let's see. Can you deploy software update to an AD group? Can you create a package of standard software and deploy it all at once? Okay. So the short answer to this is yes. You can deploy it to a series of machines. You cannot deploy, however, to an AD group. This is a feature that we will be adding in later versions of Goverlan, the ability to deploy to a group that has workstations in it. But what you can do from this point of view in Goverlan is if you have software that you need to install, you can control select and you can create a custom action that installs a series of software. So that's how you would do it here in your view to do it on multiple machines. Now, if you wanted to do it on a larger scale of machines, if you wanted to do it, let's say, on an OU specifically or an IP subnet range and so on, or if you wanted to do it to an AD group, but you want Goverlan to go to each machine there, then you would have to do something called a scope action. And that's the configuration management piece. And that's what we're going to be going over tomorrow. So if you want to see that, I suggest you come tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern to see that that feature. That can actually be done through our global management via scope actions. Where do you find the agent for images? The Goverlan agent, if you want to have it included, there's an exe that's in the installation directory of Goverlan. It's in C Program Files x86, Goverlan v8, Goverlan Client Agent Installer, and there's an exe in there that you can run in your image before you close it up and ship it out. Can the reporting be scheduled? In the Administration and Diagnostics section, it cannot be scheduled. Again, these actions, everything that I've shown you, can be scheduled in the global management via scope actions. So again, if you want to see that, make sure you come tomorrow where I'll be going over the scope action piece of Goverlan. Will this video be available? Yes, it will be available after the presentation is over. Please go to YouTube/Goverlan where we'll be uploading it. It should be there by the end of the day today. Then you can go ahead and review this video as well as yesterday's video and any other video that we have for you on our YouTube channel. I mentioned adding local users. Can you modify local groups as well? Yes, you can. So if you come into any machine and you go to local users and groups, this is the local group tab. So this includes the administrator group or any other local group that might be on that machine. Of course, the most popular one is administrators, right? So I might work with someone who is a fan of adding someone to the admins group because they don't want to actually see how to make a application work without giving someone full admin privileges. By my tone of voice, you can see I probably did that before. So what's going on here is that we can go and add and remove members as we see fit. We can also create a custom action that will allow you to remove anyone who you do not want to be in there and add people who you want to be in there with a simple double click. We're actually going to be doing some of those pieces tomorrow, as well as in the global management, because it looks basically the same. Okay, so I think I have all of the questions done. If anyone has any more questions, or if you want to find out more information about Goverlan, please go to Goverlan.com, or also visit our Goverlan YouTube channel, youtube.com/Goverlan. You can also reach us on our live chat feature on our website, as well as emailing sales@Goverlan.com or support@Goverlan.com. I hope this has been informative, and I hope everyone has either learned something from this or can go to our website and get a 30-day free copy. Everything that I showed you today will be available as part of the demo. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to us, and this video will be available later on. So I hope everyone has a good day, and thank you very much for watching.